Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mr. Kamete, and I will be doing a lesson plan of natural sciences in grade 8 under the topic which says life and living. The topic includes the subtopics which says respiration and photosynthesis. So you need to understand the following objectives. So these objectives are things that you need to know after this lesson. So you have to know what are the inputs and outputs of photosynthesis. You have to understand the relationship between light and photosynthesis. You have to understand the relationships between carbon dioxide and photosynthesis. Then you have to know what is respiration, understand the process of respiration, and you must understand the importance of respiration. So, firstly, in order for us to live, we need energy as a source of life. As living organism, we cannot live without energy in our lives. So, energy is needed to sustain life, and without it, nothing can live on earth. Our most important source of energy is the sun. So the sun is our source of energy in the earth. Most organisms cannot directly use the energy of the sun to carry out life processes. We will study and focus to the processes involved in transferring solar energy or radiative energy to our body. The two important processes that we will study are photosynthesis and respiration. All living things can use energy in the form of chemical potential energy for life processes. It is the energy stored in the food that all organisms eat. So, the food that we eat, energy is stored on it. So, plants can capture radiant energy from the sun and convert it into a chemical potential energy for use by other organisms. So, the plants are the ones that are able to convert the energy from the sun into a chemical potential energy. So, to continue, basically when you're talking about respiration and photosynthesis, we are talking about the things that take place in our daily lives at each and every time of our living. So plants convert energy for all living things on earth. Plants can capture radiant energy from the sun and convert it into a chemical potential energy for use by other organisms. They do this through photosynthesis. All organisms release stored potential energy from the food they eat to support their life processes. This process is called breathing, the process of inhaling and exhaling. So, we have to know what photosynthesis is. So, a question may say, what is photosynthesis? So, photosynthesis takes place in small structures called chloroplasts, which are found inside the cells of green leaves and stem. Inside the chloroplast are green pigments called chlorophyll. So inside the chloroplast, there are pigments that are found that are called chlorophyll. Sorry. This is what gives plant their green color. So this pigment gives the plants their color. Photosynthesis is the process by which chlorophyll molecule absorb radiant energy from the sun and convert it into chemical potential energy. The sole function of chlorophyll is to trap solar energy. Chlorophyll is not produced or used during photosynthesis. Plants use radiant energy from the sun in a series of chemical reactions to convert carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil into glucose. Then plants release oxygen after the process of photosynthesis, or after they finish their cycle of processing the glucose energy. So, the process of photosynthesis can be represented as an equation. So, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide added with water, the outcome is glucose. Added with oxygen, sunlight, or chlorophyll, which will be in symbols CO2 plus H2O, which will be C6H12O6 plus O2. Sunlight, glucose the plant produced during the process of photosynthesis is plant food, which we consume as human beings, like fruits. The plant can directly use this glucose and release energy during its own respiration. So the plants may also use this glucose for their own respiration. It can store the glucose or convert it into other chemical compounds. Glucose is soluble in water. To store large amount of glucose, plants must convert it into water-insoluble compounds. Thus, the plants convert the glucose into starch, which is insoluble in water. So plants convert glucose to make it to become starch that can be stored more easily in the parts of the plant. So plants also produce cellulose fibers that can give plants strength and support them, mostly importantly when they grow and when they continue with their digestive system. So plants need energy for them to also respirate and be able to grow and be able to also manufacture their own food again. The food that plants produce is used by animals when they eat the plant and by other animals that eat them. So an example may be a grass eaten by a cow, then a cow eaten by a human being. So it may be like a cycle from a grass to a human being. So this food contains chemical potential energy that needs to be released from the food. This chemical potential energy is the energy that can allow an organism to respirate. So respiration is the process in all living organisms by which energy is released from glucose in a series of chemical reactions. Respiration uses oxygen while carbon dioxide and water are given off as byproduct. So respiration is a little bit opposite of photosynthesis, because in respiration carbon dioxide and water are released, while in photosynthesis carbon dioxide and water are needed to manufacture glucose. So oxygen is mostly important in respiration. So in order for an organism to respirate, it needs oxygen. So in addition to starch, plants also convert glucose into cellulose. So plants also convert this glucose into cellulose. Cellulose, it is the strongest part, or it is the hardest part that protects a plant from its consumers. So cellulose is used to support and strengthen the plant. Glucose is also converted into other chemical compounds that enable processes in plants such as reproduction and growth. So this glucose is also useful when it comes to reproduction and growth of plants. So energy is also needed to reproduce and for the growth of all organisms. Okay. We already know that plants make glucose during photosynthesis and store it as starch, as it has been mentioned above. So to see if the plant is performing photosynthesis, we can check if the plant has produced starch in a laboratory or doing practical using iodine, which will result in turning a leaf of a plant into orange, brown, or to dark blue, black when it comes to contact with starch. So when there is starch, the color that will be available, it will be orange, brown, or the dark blue, black color that will indicate the availability of starch on that particular plant. Breathe the energy of our bodies need to move and work comes from the food we eat and all other living things eat. Glucose from the food we eat combine with oxygen in a series of chemical reactions to release energy. Glucose is broken down and energy is released. So when this energy is released, it is then used to fuel all other processes in the body of a living organism. This process is called breathing, which I said it is the process of inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide, which is respiration. We can divide respiration in all living organisms as the process by which energy is released from glucose in a series of chemical reactions. Respiration produces energy, water, and carbon dioxide. We can also write a respiratory equation as follows. Glucose added with oxygen, the outcome is carbon dioxide added with water, added with energy. Then in symbols it will be C6H12O6 added with O2, which is oxygen. The outcome will be CO2, which is carbon dioxide added with HO2, which is water, added with energy. Carbon dioxide gas is produced in organism during the right respiration to be eliminated. So in humans, we can see when you are exhaling carbon dioxide in the air doing the process of breathing. So if someone has a question about all that has been mentioned above, about life and living, about respiration, about photosynthesis, can ask and I will help him or her. Thank you.